a couple of things that I would want to know if I was new to Chop, or that I might want to be sure to know about Chop in general. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Kaylin. I have 22 species of parrots. I love my parrots. I adore parrots. I love seeing pictures of parrots. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I'm here to share my bliss. If you want to learn a thing or two about Chop today, and if you want to get inspired about parrots, you're in the right place. If you are already subscribed, then you already have your preferences set, hopefully. And that means YouTube will let you know when the next video is published, probably tomorrow. Let's get chopping. Hey guys, so you probably know that chop is the word that's used for fresh vegetables because they are chopped up and given to the parrot. Now, the thing about chop is that a lot of people, yes? You're so talkative. Yes. Before you fall in love with my Pionis, alebrije, or Ale for short, and you think that Ale just makes these cute little cooing sounds, he does, it's true, but then sometimes he makes this high-pitched noise, and if he's sitting there, oh my ear. But generally speaking, he's not a loud bird. I don't believe they're known for being talkers, but sometimes we're like, did he say hi? Was that hi? My husband and I look at each other and we're like, was that hi? Okay, yeah, he laughed with me. So Chop, you know, people will make like a week's worth in advance, and I guess they freeze it. Or you can go to one of your favorite pet stores that sells vegetable chop and get it, you know, so that you could just take some every day for your bird. Here's the things that I think you probably want to know. I would want to know the things I would want to know if I didn't know these things about chop. Number one, if I've seen some chop that is unrecognizable. In other words, it's been chopped so finely, or maybe it was chopped in the Cuisinart, that the pieces are like now on their way to being mush. The thing that you want to know is you want to make sure you're serving your parrot chop and not bacteria. In other words, we all know that parrots get sick quickly, easily. We all know that they fluff up and they hide their illness. So basically, you know, I've had avian vets tell me that by the time people figure out there's something wrong with their bird and bring them in, it's too late. So for me, I like knowing that I don't want to feed my birds bacteria because I don't want them, you know, like why would you feed them something to make them sick? Obviously, it's not something you want to do. So that number one is we want to make sure that we're not chopping it so finely that it turns into a mush and collects bacteria more quickly. We want to I want to try to serve fresh vegetables in a way such that it is going to provide my parrots what I want it to provide them, not what I don't want it to provide them. So decide how to serve your fresh vegetables in a way, chopped or not, that is going to be fresh vegetables and not bacteria. Okay, I think I beat that horse to death. Number two, parrots are the only bird, and I'm gonna say the next to apes, I don't know, are there other animals that eat with a hand or a foot? It's phenomenal, right? They'll hold their vegetables. So you really want to chop your vegetables down to the size of their ability to grab it and feed it to themselves. Now, if you ask me, I don't know if you asked me or not, somebody asked me about chop. If you ask me, I kind of feel like I can give my parrots a little broccoli tree because it may be bigger than what they can hold, but in the wild, nobody's chopping their vegetables. So like I've got this in the wild theory that constantly runs in my mind, and it's like in the wild, they wouldn't eat broccoli and no one would chop it for them. So I then have to like sit there and go, what makes sense to me, what works for me, what gives my parrots health, what gives my parrots immunity, like really helps them, and how do I serve it and what do I serve. So when it comes to the size, you know, my parrotlets, it has to be smaller. And I like giving them sometimes like the peas. Everybody likes peas, but the parrotlets, they can do peas. I can't give them a broccoli tree. It's some of those broccoli trees probably weigh more than the parrotlet. Really. You know, I have pellets, and because my parrots also get pellets, and my husband was like, well, what about these pellets? And I'm like, well, they're the medium size, and it's like the same size as the parrotlet's head. They can't eat that, right, Ale? Okay. I don't have food for you. So, you know, you also want to look at your bird. Like my macaw, I can give them something to hold on to because they can. And I love watching them eat a slice of a banana. I'm not really a believer in giving my parrots fruit, but I don't know. Bananas jive with me. I don't know. Anyway, you know, you decide for yourself. Decide what's best for your parrot, and I'll talk about fruit in a minute. But when you give a macaw a disc of a banana, in other words, you take the banana and you cut so you have a disc, we don't take the peel off. They grab it and hold it somehow and scoop it out. Like they scoop it with their upper mandible or their bill, like an ice cream. It's so cool and it's so fun to watch. So they can sit there and hold something bigger. Look at your bird and try different sizes of cut vegetables and see what works. Okay, now, what about making chop in advance? Number 3, timing. So I have 22 species of parrots, and that means that I have enough parrots that I'm not cutting like one little broccoli tree and giving it to one Pyonis every day, which would take like 2 seconds and be easy to do. You know, cut a piece of this, cut a piece of that, and hand it to the Pyonis. You know, that kind of thing. I'm making enough that some mornings it's nicer to have something pre-made. I will buy frozen vegetables. I'm not against it. Maybe it's not the same as something fresh, but it works for me. Sometimes I do fresh, sometimes I do frozen, sometimes I do a mix. I really am a proponent of, you're in charge. There's no parrot police, and you have to do what you think is beneficial for you and your parrot. I hope you guys can hear me okay, because all of a sudden I feel like I have some competition. Okay, so I'm not uncomfortable with frozen. I am uncomfortable with mushy. I'll like microwave my vegetables for 10 minutes because it's like on 20% power. And my husband's like, that's never gonna get warm. And I'm like, I know, but I don't want it to get over hot where I can't touch it, because then I've killed those micronutrients. And number 4, you wanna make sure that when you're feeding your parrot the chop, they're getting micronutrients. So I don't wanna overcook it. So I'm a pain in my own feather. And when it's frozen, you know, I try to thaw it very slowly so that I don't overcook it. It's important to me. So I have done things where I'll cut stuff up beforehand. I didn't like it. Why? Because when I froze it, and I thawed it got mushy. I don't know, everything got watery. When I had it in the fridge for 3, 4, 5 days, it got mushy, and I'm going, this is starting to not look right. This is starting to not feel right. Sniff, sniff. This is starting not to. I do fresh. Do what works for you. Maybe you have a better way and it works for you. For example, with sprouted seeds, what works for me doesn't work for my vet, but it works for me, and so that's what I do. Do what works for you. Make sure that they're getting those micronutrients. Make sure that you're not overcooking the food. Make sure that you smell it, that you look at it. Vegetables shouldn't be soupy. They were getting soupy on me. I'm like, this isn't soup. This danger, Will Rogers. I'm not giving this to my parrots. Number 5, the whole point of the fresh vegetables and the chop is that you're giving your parrot something that they cannot get in the pellet. I'm a proponent of pellets because all of my experts say that parrots have lived longer and gone to the vet less often ever since pellets. In Europe, I feel like they don't quite do pellets as much. I can't say. They don't believe in them. They don't like them. I don't know. I really don't know. But I have people on YouTube saying like, oh, we don't have as many pellets over here. They don't, pellets, they're not marketed as much. So I don't know exactly why that is. But for us here in the States, the pellets, they're beneficial. You're gone, you can't feed vegetables all day long. They've got pellets. They have a really well-balanced diet. My birds start their day with fresh vegetables. My birds have water, fresh water, and pellets available 24/7. I believe in that. That's what works for me. I do not believe that a bird should have a time where they're hungry. In the wild, when they wake up and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, they wouldn't eat. But my golden conure sleeps in my bedroom. She has 2 cages, one with her buddy downstairs and one is her night cage, and I bring her upstairs to her night cage. And sometimes I hear her eating at 2 o'clock in the morning, and she's a little underweight. So I'm like, you go, girl. I want my parrots to have access to pellets anytime that they're hungry. Now, next to that, the pellets are a complete diet, or at least they're supposed to be, but pellets cannot offer micronutrients. I don't think pellets can offer antibacterial properties the way some foods and spices can, some vegetables and herbs and stuff like that. So in my research, I have found that there are some things that will offer antibacterial properties. In me, that like I process that and I hear I can help their immune system. I can help them stay healthy and keep from getting sick because, for example, there's Clostridium in the air. I should do a video on Clostridium. Clostridium is a perpetual pain in the feather. Anyway, it's in the air. Your parrot can catch it. Why? Because it's in the air. It's a bacteria. It's not nice. It's, but this isn't a Clostridium video. So back on track. Those vegetables in whatever you cut or chop, they can really make a difference. Do some research. Now, I will tell you that I just read in my research, check for yourself, but my research said that basil and oregano kill like 100% of bacteria. Is that true? I don't know. I read it online, and if you ask me online, you find some really good parrot droppings. That means poop. And online you find some really good valid information that like really good people are sharing, and they're sharing good content, and they're really trying to help other people. So you hear everything. If I sprinkle a little basil and oregano on my food or my parrot's food, it's not going to hurt anybody. If it's going to help, awesome. With parrots, I would therefore definitely sprinkle some of those. I would make sure that my chop or my fresh vegetables, I do them chopped every day. If I microwave a sweet potato and get it just to break the fibers for my parrots, and I have some left over, I will put it in the refrigerator. I'll use it the next day, and then I try to use it up. I didn't cut it. I didn't chop it. I cut what I needed. I put it in the refrigerator, the rest of the whole, whatever's left of the whole potato, and then the next day, sweet potato, I cut it up. I'll do the same with carrots. Beta carotene is really important for a parrot's eyes. If you have an African gray, they need vitamin A. I believe broccoli has vitamin A. And calcium. They all need calcium, but African grays really need calcium. So make sure that, be methodical, do a little research. Maybe, you could take what I've said, but do some research for yourself too. And actually, if you find some good information, hey, post it below. I'm constantly learning, trying to learn about parrots, trying to learn about improving their diet, I'm constantly trying to raise my own bar. Why? Because I'm crazy. I'm passionate about my parrots. When you have 22 species, you want to take care of them. It's just, I don't know. It's like, I don't even know what drives me. I love my parrots. I love my parrots. So, So do your research and don't just like chop something and freeze it. Like decide, like really observe your own process. I mean, I did the same. I did chop and I looked at it and I was like, this is soup. Maybe you don't make soup. Maybe I make soup. See what you make. See what happens. But don't just grab something and feed it to your parrot. Be methodical. Say, you know what? I've heard that beta carotene is good for them. It's good for their eyes. I need to get beta carotene in. You know, I have an African gray. They do get calcium deficient. And if your African gray has like white, the white of their, around the skin on their eyes, if it gets puffy, like a donut, I believe that's a vitamin A deficiency. So if your parrot has that, if your African gray has that, you have a problem. They need some vitamin A. I have a friend who breeds African grays. He's the one I'm babysitting, his African grays. He said that sometimes when he gets a adult African gray to breed, it chitters, like it, you know. And he said he puts them on a good diet, and within a month or two or less, it's gone. Observe your parrot. Like, one of the very best things you could do is really eyeball your parrot. My vet once told me, you know, she said, my avian vet, she's like, when people bring in their parrots, I rely on what they say for what they're observing, because they're the ones that know their parrot best. They're with their parrot day in and day out. Observe your parrot. You are better eyes than your veterinarian. Yes, your veterinarian knows way more medically than you do. They look at a bird and they're like, this, that, the other. Clostridium, heavy metal poisoning. I don't know what else, you know, like they know the signs. Sure, you don't. Sure, it's important to take your parrot to the vet, but it's really important to be able to report observations to your vet. I took my Amazon, my yellow-naped Amazon one time, and I said to my vet, you know, I had her close by me. I think I heard her wheezing. And she looked at me like, I think you saw something or heard something. So she gets out her stethoscope, she listens to her, and she's like, yeah, she has a respiratory infection. Got rid of it like that. Why? Because I was observing her. So when you make your chop, be really methodical about it. Don't just make something, choose what you put in there. I encourage you, if you make 1 or 2 days at a time, like today and tomorrow, you know, observe it. I wouldn't think that that would be bad. I don't think you're gonna get soup. I don't think you're gonna get bacteria. I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Observe it, watch it. If your parrot starts to get sick, you might be better off not giving them fresh vegetables. You don't want a sick parrot. That shouldn't happen. If you're making fresh vegetables every day, you should be strengthening their immune system. Do a little research, see what vegetables you want to give them. Do some research, make sure that you don't give them the ones that they're not supposed to have. For example, I'm trying to think of something they're not supposed to have because I hear contradictory things. So I'll give you 3 examples. Onions, garlic, and avocado. I've heard both sides. So I'm going to say to you, I don't know if you should give your parrots garlic, onion, and avocado. I think you better research. Talk to your avian vet, who's probably going to say, no, you shouldn't give it to them. You know, and then if you decide to try, I would say give them an itty bitty bit. I don't give those things to my parrots. If I'm eating an almond flour quesadilla and there's guac in there, honestly, I don't sweat it. Why? Because my experts say that the research is saying that the avocado is toxic depending on like where the parrot eats and how much, like, and you're like, where the parrot eats the avocado? Do you mean in New York it's toxic and here in Florida it's not? No. What part of the avocado? What? So, you know, I would risk nothing. Be careful. But when you make your chop, really observe, research your chop. In my chop, I've got carrots, broccoli. Sometimes I do corn. I don't think corn is evil. You know, take it or leave it. You can argue with me, but chickens, Sidicus told me chickens are fed corn and they're at the bottom of the food chain. We eat eggs. I no longer am anti-corn. Corn is a grain. It's not my friend. I like it. I would be friends with corn. Corn doesn't like me. But I don't think it's bad for my birds. I don't want to give them nothing but corn. Variety is the spice of life. And in the wild, they would have a lot of variety. But I give broccoli, I give sweet potatoes. I try to mix it up. I give them squash, even though squash is really a fruit. Told you I would talk about fruit. Ripe fruit is not something they're biologically developed to digest, because in the wild they wouldn't have access to those nice ripe fruits. So with the exception of papaya and mangoes, my mentor does not give fruit, and I pretty much try to follow suit. I told you I do a little banana sometimes. Venus, one of my African grays, she thinks bananas are the best thing ever. Bananas have potassium, and I don't think they're as sweet. I need to research that a little more, and we don't do it often. But I'm methodical. I'm super methodical. Like, I know what I give my parrots. I know why I give it to my parrots. My parrots, I'm happy. They're not perfect parrots. Wouldn't it be nice if he had a gleam, a glow? And my mentor's birds have a glow, but anyway. But when you are methodical, you end up doing a better job for your parrots, and I think that's the most important thing. Thank you for joining me in this long, blissful video. If your parrot is stressed out, or if you want to support their immune system, make sure to get Tink's must-have parrot relief on parrotblissful.com. If you have any questions or comments, please comment below. I'm trying to end this video. See you next time.